It was scary, you know. You could hear it snap, crackling, popping, and the smoke was, of course, rolling in by the ceiling. We had a job to do, and we just did it. It was just spontaneous, you know. We just did what we had to do.
July 28, 1955, was a searing hot day in Dubuque. The heat, however, would not be the only reason longtime city residents would remember that date. At about 9 p.m., a fire started in the overheated attic of the infirmary at Mount Carmel, home to the Sisters of Charity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The building, built in 1907, housed scores of frail elderly nuns. Some of the sisters had not walked on their own for years. Others lay critically ill. All would survive the fire thanks to a daring rescue effort. The late Sister Larian McDonald, who was preparing to make her final vows as a BVM at the time, recalled the day during a 2005 interview. Quote, "The heat was breaking records. We were outside having ice cream, but it melted before we could eat it. It was so unpleasant, we went in early and got ready for bed," McDonald said. At 9:30 p.m., there was a general call throughout the dormitory rooms for the young sisters to go to the infirmary because of a small fire. The sisters put on their robes and crossed the second-floor bridge from the mother house to the infirmary. McDonald carefully helped two infirm sisters outside, one by picking her up and carrying her. Historical accounts said old nuns wrapped their arms around their rescuers' necks and hobbled out. Sick nuns were carried in blankets to the front lawn or were dragged out backwards, sitting in chairs. Newlyweds Bob and Betty Dean were walking along Grandview Avenue with another couple, Bill and Jerry Fayen, when they noticed the fire.
Just taking a walk, really nice time, really nice day. So we went down there, and of course we went in because it was the infirmary. We went in, and there was a young novice in there, and she was just all shook up. So I said to Betty, "Get her out of here," you know. And then Bill and I went to get the nuns out of there, and of course they're all older in their 90s and 100s, but I was really amazed how scared they were and how you'd pry their hands loose and then they grab right back on, pry them loose again, they grab right back on. So I'd take everything out and lift everything so they could lay them down, and they'd have something to lay on the outside there. And then we got them out one by one, and then it got bad, so we started handing them out through the windows because we couldn't go as far anymore, and the smoke was getting lower and lower in there. And then anyhow, we did get them out there. Finally, Bill went on the outside, and I just went and handed them to the window to him, and he took them up and let Betty and Jerry take care of them up there on the lawn. And then the last one I had, I was on all fours, on my elbows and that, crawling down the hall because I couldn't see anymore. And then, so I went out the door. Bill came over, he took the nun away from me, and I just walked up, and the whole thing above the doorway come down, just behind me, you know, and the fireman was standing there, and missed him too. They just came. They just had come. And it was hair-raising, and then the more you think about it, you know, what if it came down when I was coming out the door, the whole canopy, when that come down, it just, about 1,500 pounds. Mm-hmm. And I just got cleared of that. We got them all out. That was the main thing. That's what we wanted to do. We got them all out. And It was scary, you know. You could hear it snap, crackling, popping, you know. And the smoke was, of course, rolling by the ceiling.
The late Joe Melson was among the off-duty firemen called in to fight the blaze. When he arrived on the scene, Melson recalls seeing, quote, the whole sky glowing from the fire. He was assigned to advance a hose line into the infirmary chapel, but the roof started to collapse and he withdrew. Firefighters were pushed farther out of the structure by intense flames until they were battling the blaze from the outside and from the second floor bridge. At one point, Melson and a fellow fireman saw their two comrades inside the structure staggering dangerously. He said, quote, they didn't have masks and were overcome with smoke and had taken an awful beating. We went inside and pulled and carried them out to the lawn and put a resuscitator on each of them. It was only then that Melson realized one of the stricken men was his own brother, Elmer, also a Dubuque fireman. The firefighters battled the blaze for hours, and over the next 2 days, returned to put out persistent hotspots. Melson recalled that there were traffic jams along Grandview for days afterwards as hundreds of sightseers jammed the narrow street. No one was killed during the fire, although several people were injured. Sister Larian McDonald remarked, quote, it was an absolute miracle of God's abiding love that we didn't lose anyone that night. Insurance estimates put the loss of the building and its contents at about $193,000. Fire doors saved the adjacent structures. A new addition to the infirmary had been under construction at the time, but its plans were adjusted after the fire. Today, the complex at Mount Carmel is in the midst of a major reconstruction project. In February 2021, a new facility opened, offering housing for assisted living, skilled care, and memory care for the elderly sisters.